Friday, July 18th, Stan Ehrlich, market analysis. And we have a relatively uninteresting day. Again, slightly lower closes on the average, not a very wide trading range. Efforts to make new highs for the trend, which did happen early, but the close was just a little lower, so it didn't stay up. It wasn't even up very much to begin with. And we still have, unfortunately for you guys, no real change of the situation. I haven't got anything super new to say about the indexes other than making new historic highs and then closing lower is not necessarily a good situation. So that's what it looks like. Now, yes, we have had new historic highs a couple of weeks ago. Yes, the market did not drop like a rock. It stayed basically above the old historical highs on the average, a little lower, a little higher, depending upon the index. And yes, it has made new highs since. All of those comments are basically pretty bullish. But the problem is the way that it's doing it is very calmly, not very aggressive. There's no real sharp rallies, real high volume stuff. Normally, when you see new historical highs, it's a pop-up, get going, zoom, zoom, zoom. And we just have a quietly trading higher over the last couple, 3 weeks market. That lends itself to an all of a sudden super surprise crash. I don't really like to use the word crash, but I'm afraid I really kind of think there's not an outside chance of it. I think there could be a really big break. Like all in one day, we might be able to get below the lows of the last 2 to 3 weeks. That's what I meant. Okay, so we're looking at the 1-minute chart, topped out, pulled back a little bit, E-mini closing a little bit lower, and I mean small, nothing particularly profound. The spider made new historic highs again, closed a little bit lower, and I mean a little bit, but I think it's very vulnerable the way it's acting. Next, spider, 1 minute, early rally highs, drifted off mostly throughout the day. Next, QQQ, new historic high again, slightly lower close, usually not the best indicator, but not, terrible. There's no crash, there's no reversals here so far. And I do think if I'm right, we're going to at least come back down to these support areas, and I'll pull this over for you. So, yeah, whoops. At least back down to 541. But that means you have to close below 551 first, of course. And that's not happening yet. I got no reversals yet. I got nothing that looks great visually telling you that, oh, Stan might be right. We'll see what happens. Open strong, drifted off, not a lot. QQQ. NASDAQ futures, new highs, drifted off, no reversals, not a very volatile day. Nothing here that I would scream bloody murder bearish about. But I'm suspicious. I've seen this happen not real frequently, but, I recognize it. So let's see if the next few days what happens, or maybe it'll take longer, but as long as it doesn't explode upwards, which I cannot rule out. Remember, we did make new historic highs in most of the indexes, not this one, not the Dow YM. And it still has a bearish engulfing ER signal on the exact high day, still. So that's good. I'm just waiting for some, resolution to my opinion. I'm not seeing the bearish signal that came out in the Russell earlier this week has now been negated yesterday and today because we got higher than the high of that signal. But it's not a new high for the trend. It is sticking around this resistance area. So I'm afraid I really can't. I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't help it. Next, drifted off a little bit. Next, bonds. We have had a couple days with the rally. I'm not overly impressed. The old bull trend line held at oversold conditions, bouncing some. Nice. But, if I'm going to get really, really bullish about the situation, I have to get above 116. That would look great. Possible bottom formation in here. I think it's a little bit too early to scream bloody murder, head and shoulder bottom. But maybe. Okay, I'll draw this a little over to the right, just so the neckline is into the future a little bit. Notes, come on. I haven't got much to go on. I hate that. Next, crude. A little more strength, but gave it away. Closing around unchanged. Big, huge bearish engulfing. June 23, still in force. Looking for lower levels. Looking for the support level to be tested. And frankly, probably even broken. We'll see. Now, okay, finally we have a little bit of something to go on in natural gas. Remember, it's got a head and shoulder top. It's a complex pattern. It broke out to the downside on approximately June 30th, specifically. Well, actually, the breakout, I'm sorry, was on June 25. That's the first day it closed below the neckline. Then a little lower. Then came back, and that's a no-no usually, closing above the neckline. But it resolved the problem immediately the next day by closing way below the neckline. And it drifted off even more to oversold. Now we've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-day bounce. But for the first time, we don't have a higher high. The close is almost unchanged. And we did get below yesterday's lows. So this could be an indication that it's starting to turn down. And if that's true, then we're going to see it test support again and make new lows. My minimum downside objective is damn near 1.1. Next, big rally on heating oil, but it gave it all away and closed lower. That is oftentimes the sign that it's going to drop off even more. Remember, we also had a major bearish engulfing on, what was it? Trying to get the date here. I'm not getting the damn date. Crosshair. Come on, local. There we go. Sorry about that. June 23. I think it's about to turn down. And substantially. And make new lows since June. And drop down to 2.1 support. Next, gold. Sideways, rock in a hard spot. Nothing's changed lately. Sorry. You never can make the market do what you want it to do. You always have to move with it. And if it doesn't do much, then that's it. Next, silver. A little bit more strength, but lousy close. Still up on the day a little. Not sure about this. So I'm going to have to pass on a comment. Next, platinum. New highs again, but a lower close. Not overbought. A lot of divergences here. For a whole month, you've got lower and lower and lower RSI and at least 4 different new highs. That's a little unusual, but it means, watch out, all of a sudden something bearish could happen. Next, high-grade copper. A little upside progress. The support level did hold, like I've been talking about for several days. So copper's looking good. I wouldn't be surprised to see it pop up and maybe make a new high for the whole damn trend in the next several days to a week. The fail-safe stop is, of course, underneath the low of July 14th. Next, soybeans and grains. Well. Soybeans have finally gotten back up into a trading range that tells me that we're going to get stuck a little bit, and maybe something bullish long term is really starting to develop. I like this. This is looking a lot more friendly. It's not overbought. It could easily pop up a bit more. The whole key to this thing, though, is a close above 1076. That's about it. Soybean oil. Wow. New high for the move up. Remember, my minimum upside objective is 62.56 that I've been talking about ever since June 13th, over a month ago. And this is a new high since. And yesterday as well. But unfortunately, it's getting overbought. So anytime it could have a little bit of a dip. The dip could come back to about 53.10, maybe a little higher than that. Trend is up. Bull markets, which this is, have periodic overbought conditions. Periodic, small, short term, doesn't last very long, doesn't go down too far, dips, and then turns right around and makes new highs, which is basically what the thing has been doing since, I don't know, April, May. But the pattern is working great. Remember, minimum upside objective, we're already halfway there. Already. It's 62.50-ish. What about corn? I'm sorry, soybean meal? Nice rally. There's a possibility that these new lows, with divergences, not new lows in the indicator, are really developing some kind of a major turn. I think it's a little too early to say that, but I do love the fact that it's a new high and a new high close all of a sudden for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 previous days. If you were short and not paying attention, you don't like today. This could be something interesting about being bullish. Next. Well, I've got the same kind of comment about corn. Now, it does have a gap to close. I've been talking about that for a long since it happened at 417. So the real evidence here of bullishness is getting up to close the gap and staying at that gap closure area and moving up even further. So we're almost there to close the gap. Let's see what happens next. Almost an outside up day in wheat. Good, not great. A lot of resistance above. A lot of activity has to happen in order for me to turn bullish to any long-term opinion. So, I don't know. This could rally up. It's kind of ambiguous. It looks like 574, 575, something like that, is some resistance. I don't have anything great to say except support basically held in a very sloppy way. And that's about it. Okay, Shell, pop up, bad close, only up or rather down a hair. So I think it'll slip off even more. We've got Apple, sideways again. No new highs, no new lows. Doji, slightly higher close. Not much to say. Bearish engulfing so far in effect from July 7th. ER sell signal looking great. Next, new high, Tesla. Above a little resistance. That usually is a bit friendly. So what? Major support still below the market. We did get a buy signal that worked really well on June 9th. Still in force, longer term. We need to overcome some levels of resistance at higher levels in the last couple of months. we're between a rock and a hard spot and NVIDIA. Another, I think, new historic highs, but not really by much. So let's call it sideways with a slightly lower close. Overbought is the problem. Gap below the market to close is what we're looking to do. 165.60 is what I'm looking for on the downside, give or take, 5, 10 cents to close the gap. And then you've got a trend line that that I drew just a couple days ago to work with. So we'll see if that holds. But I'm expecting to see a downside break here that is not that big a deal. There's a chance it could actually come down to 150, 146, and 145 to close these old two gaps from approximately a month ago, a little less. And we're back to the E-mini. You know how I feel. You guys have a great trading day and profitable trading to everyone.